Hey guys, prep day Sunday. Just like we do pretty much every Sunday, we're going to be working on all kinds of prep for the week. This week, like with that haul I showed you, we're going to make some spaghetti squash Thai style, it says. And if you're wondering, I'm getting a lot of my recipes off of Pinterest this week just for a little variety. And we got a lot of stuff that we're going to be using out of the pantry and out of our fridges and freezers. And I'm going to take you along for the ride on this Sunday afternoon. So here's what a spaghetti squash looks like. And once you cook it up and when you scrape it out, it actually looks like regular spaghetti. And that's why it's called that. Now, one thing I can tell you about cutting a spaghetti squash is it's not an easy thing to do. And another thing is, if you're nervous about using knives and you're working on stuff, you're going to have to learn to become a lot more comfortable with it. You just take it like this, and you start cutting it, getting it down the center here. And this is going to be the hardest part of cutting this darn thing, because really after you cut it, then you scrape out the seeds and stuff. Then you put it on a baking sheet and let it go for about an hour in a 400-degree oven. And I got my garbage bowl here. Now here's something that I found from Martha Stewart. She actually uses a cookie scoop. And what that does is that the sharp edge along here, you scrape out the seeds, and it works really nice. I mean, look at this. You scrape it right into there. And this is going to have a bunch of vegetables with it. We got some bamboo shoots and some water chestnuts and snap peas and all kinds of good stuff. Now here's the other side here. Just keep on scraping. If you don't get it the first go around, you can always do it again. Keep scraping until you get out all the innards, as they say, out of it. Oop. You can see the strings already coming off of here. Now, some people say you can save seeds. I've saved several of different squashes that we're going to be planting this spring. We're going to try and get some squash, different kinds of squash. We got one that looks really cool. I think it's called a mashed potato squash. We're going to try growing some of those. And that's really all there is to scooping out the innards of the squash, and then you go and bake it and go from there. Here's our sheet pan, a little bit of aluminum foil and a little bit of spray on there, and you put them cut side down. Give you a little bit better look of how these are going to fit. And if they don't fit, then you just get another sheet pan with some more foil. But we can make them fit. Just like that. Look at that. Full sheet pan of spaghetti squash ready to go. And now that we have that in the oven, we're going to let that cook we're going to set it for 45 minutes first. Check them. You just poke it with the outside with a fork, and if they're tender, and you'll be able to tell definitely, and I'll show you that once they're done. But you poke them with a fork, and once they're done, you want to take them out and let them cool. Here we go. We're going to check the spaghetti squash and see how they're doing. Put on my oven mitt here so I don't burn myself this time. Here we go. You just poke it to see how it's doing. That's got a little bit more to go on it. I'd say about 10 minutes or so, and that'll be good to go for it. Okay, now we're going to make up some peanut butter sauce for the Thai spaghetti squash. And what's interesting is that we've got this new can of peanut butter powder. You might be wondering, are we preppers? No, we are not. But we like to get the peanut butter powder because it is a lot less fat in there than your regular peanut butter you buy on the shelf. And you can mix up as much or as little as you want each time. And then this will actually last, the can says it'll last for 5 years. So we'll see. It won't last us that long because we like to make peanut butter sauce quite often. But it's going to be good. Going to get this open and make up some good stuff. Okay, here we go. We're going to do this together here. I'm going to get my 1 cup of peanut butter powder, put in my bowl here, along my half a cup of water, pour that in, and just use a regular old fork and whisk it up. And it makes up some peanut butter. Looks good. Just make sure you get all the dry bits off the bottom, and that's why using a fork is good to use. That way you can get everything. Just make sure that it's all good and mixed. And you saw how quick that was? Just like that. There's 2/3 of a cup of peanut butter. Now we're going to make up the sauce here. So we need let's see, we're going to need 2 tablespoons of maple syrup. Just pour that right in. Two tablespoons of a soy sauce or tamari, and this one just happens to be the Bragg's liquid aminos that we really like. 2 tablespoons of that. Put that back on, and we buy that by the gallon, so we just take this little bottle here and refill it each time. That's a good way of doing our part for nature. Here's a 1/4 cup of water that it calls for. Calls for 2 teaspoons of toasted sesame oil. And since we like the flavor but not so much the use so much, so we'll put in our half a teaspoon like we usually do, because that's really what you're trying to do, is get the flavor of everything. Okay, and then we need 2 teaspoons of a red curry paste, which, if you look at this right here, this actually does not have any shrimp. Some of these red curry pastes, you gotta make sure that if you're going for a plant-based version, then you want to make sure you're not using the one with the shrimp. So just a little something to think about. Gotta read those labels. Put a couple of teaspoons of that here. And then we'll give that a mix. Give that a mix here, and then we'll add in the coconut milk, and our sauce should be ready to go. And here's your can of coconut milk. You can just use the fork here to slowly let it go in, because if not, it will make a mess. And I don't want to make a mess today. Not today, anyway. That's quite full. It's all right. I might need a bigger bowl. Oh well, cook with me and we'll see what we can come up with sometimes. And here's the thing, is that when you make a mistake, you just say oops and keep on going. So here's our sauce that's going to be thickened up here once we get it into a saucepan and put it on the stove and cook it a little bit. But I just wanted to get in a bigger bowl so that I could get it all nicely mixed up here and make sure that red curry paste gets all cleaned up. And then from there, we'll have most of one part of it of the dish done, and then we'll just make up a stir fry with those snow peas and the bean sprouts, and of course the 2 cans of other things, the water chestnuts and bamboo shoots, and we'll keep going from there. But it's always an adventure when you're cooking with me. You never know what you're going to have happen. Before I put it in the saucepan, I wanted you to kind of take a look and see what it looked like. And here's the peanut sauce. It looks good and tastes even better. When your recipe calls for crushed peanuts and you don't want to get out the food processor or anything, you make it more dirty or more dishes, then you just put it into a plastic bag. You can use the side of your knife and just push down. And that's crushing your peanuts. And that's all you need to do. I mean, it doesn't have to be perfect or anything. You just got to keep pressing it, and if that's not enough, then you can take the can of peanuts, and then, or you don't want to use your knife, you can use the can of peanuts and press it on the side like this, and you get a good crush on there too. And that's just going to be for some garnish and extra flavor in with the spaghetti squash. And if you have a pan handy, all you got to do is then you can press down like that on there too, and that'll crush them up even more. And sometimes if you want to make sure you get your aggressions out for the day, you can pound it. And take a look at that, and there's your crushed peanuts, ready to go. Now you might say, what do you saute your veggies in then if you don't have oil in your pan? Simple, water. It works just the same. You get the browning effects you want. It tastes better and it's less calories because the more oil you put in, the more calories you're putting in your body. What do you do when you have leftover veggies from pizza last night? Well, you get them out and you make them into a stir fry. That's what. And you can put in some mushrooms. Put in whatever you want. You know, if you don't like mushrooms, don't use them. If you want to use something else, use something else. I like to put in a little bit of everything. Here's some green peppers that we had left over. You can use some of those. You can use up this onion. Gotta love onion. And we'll get this cooking, and then when we do, then we'll add some of these bamboo shoots, and we'll water chestnuts, snap peas, and some bean sprouts, and I'll bring you along with that in a minute. One thing is that if you want things to cook a little bit quicker, sometimes you can put a lid on things, and that'll keep the heat in and cook it even faster. Remember I said that you could use just water and this cover and it'll steam and cook up? Well, if you listen, you can hear the sizzle, and you don't actually need to have a lot of water. I might have put in a little too much, but that's okay. It'll boil itself off, or through evaporation once you leave the lid off, which I'm going to do now. And then after a little bit, like I said, we'll add these other veggies and we'll have a good meal ready to go with the spaghetti squash. There's a block of tofu that we're going to bake up for our stir fry spaghetti squash meal. And I'm going to just cube it up and put some seasoning on it and bake it at 400 degrees, or actually 425 air bake in our oven until about 30 minutes, and that actually makes it nice and crisp and real good for putting on salads or in wraps. And the seasoning we make is out of the Vegan Zombie Cookbook under the Egg Trick Muffin recipe. That's what we like to use, and I'm going to cut that up and get it on a sheet pan and show you from there. Okay. It's going. There it is, the spaghetti squash Thai style, and got some mushrooms, onions, peppers, snap peas, bamboo shoots, water chestnuts, and some bean sprouts. It's gonna make for a good dinner for us a few days a week. There it is, guys. There's our first long video for for this channel. Hopefully you like it. If you do, give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe, because I'm going to be doing more of these longer videos with other things out there, um, other kinds of recipes. I'm doing shorter videos of my workout challenges and all kinds of good things throughout the year of 2024. We're going to make it a great year. Hopefully you do too, and you have a great day.